va a liderar en eso. So we'll just pass the microphone to Rosie, who will lead us in our language justice introduction.
Buenos días. Hola, mi nombre es Rosy y junto a mis compas Wendelin, Yaya y Vida Silvestre formamos parte del equipo de justicia del lenguaje para esta conferencia.
Peace, hello. My name is Rosie, and together with our compas Wendelin, Yaya, Vida Silvestre, and Michelle, we form part of the language justice team for this conference.
El equipo de NISAC se ha comprometido a la justicia del lenguaje y esta porción será bilingüe e interpretada de español al inglés y del inglés al español.
So NISAG is committed to language justice, and this portion will be in English and interpreted into Spanish.
La función de interpretación ya está activada.
The interpretation function is already activated for us.
Para acceder a la función desde su computadora, busque el globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla y elija la interpretación de idiomas, luego seleccione su canal de idiomas.
And so to access the function from your computer, you're going to find the globe on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. You're going to choose language interpretation, and then just select your language channel.
Para acceder a la función desde su teléfono o tableta, busque los 3 puntos en la parte inferior de su pantalla y toque más. Luego, interpretación de idiomas, seleccione su canal de idiomas y toque finalizar. Este último paso es muy importante, es el que activa la función.
So to access the function from your phone or tablet, you're going to find the 3 dots that's also on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. You're going to select more, then language interpretation. You're going to select your language channel and then click done. And that's the last step. That clicking done is actually what activates the function.
Todos en la reunión deben elegir un canal de interpretación, a no ser que entiendan ambos idiomas, inglés y español.
So because there's going to be bidirectional communication here, and that's what we're promoting, right? Everyone who is not fluent in both English and Spanish is going to be on a language channel, right? So unless you speak both English and Spanish fluently, you're going to choose which language you'd like to participate in.
Si tiene alguna dificultad accediendo a la función de interpretación, por favor mandarle un mensaje a Chia en el chat y le ayudarán a resolverlo.
So if you're having any issues with accessing the interpretation function, you're going to send a chat message to Shea, and she will support you in resolving any issues.
Ahora vamos a probar los canales de interpretación. Si me escuchan hablando ahora mismo en español, la interpretación la deben estar escuchando en inglés. Ahora vamos a probar nuestro canal de inglés a español. If you are hearing me now, you should be hearing me. You should be hearing me in Spanish. Making sure that everything is listening. We can get a signal to make sure that everything is loud and clear. Crear espacios multilingües es un esfuerzo colectivo y se hace aún más importante en espacios agrícolas, donde sabemos que la mayoría de las personas que sostienen nuestro sistema alimentario hablan múltiples idiomas. Les invitamos a poner en el chat todos los idiomas presentes acá para nombrar, honrar y reconocer que nuestras comunidades son multilingües. Estas son algunas maneras que todos podemos apoyar el compromiso a la justicia del lenguaje durante esta reunión. Por favor, Diga su nombre antes de hablar. Las personas escuchando la interpretación no siempre pueden darse cuenta de cuando el hablante ha cambiado. Sus comentarios en el chat serán traducidos en vivo por Yaya y Vida Silvestre. Si puede, por favor, hagan sus comentarios en español e inglés para que todos podamos accederlos con más facilidad. Si no, por favor, haga sus comentarios en el idioma que prefieren. Favor de acordarse de reseleccionar su canal de idioma al regresar de grupos pequeños. De vez en cuando necesitamos comunicarnos con los hablantes. Para no interrumpir la reunión, usaremos diferentes señales. Por ejemplo, hable más despacio. Hable más fuerte. Un hablante a la vez. Respirar, pausar y clarificar. Silenciar el micrófono cuando no están hablando. Finalmente, a los escuchantes del canal de interpretación en español, notarán que usamos terminaciones en E cuando refiriendo a una persona, en vez de la tradicional A o. Esto no es un error de pronunciación, sino una decisión deliberada para resistir el binario de género y construir la inclusividad de género. Cualquier problema con la interpretación, déjennos saber inmediatamente. Manden un mensaje por el chat. Gracias por su compromiso con la justicia del lenguaje. Y le pasamos el micrófono a nuestra anfitriona.
Thank you so much and good morning. Good morning, good morning. And welcome to this 7th annual Equity Breakfast. Of course, last year we missed out on the opportunity given what was happening with COVID, but Karen and I are very grateful to be able to bring this to the NISAG community again. This would have been the 8th, but because of the skipped year, it is the 7th now annual Equity Breakfast. My name is Curtis Ogden. I work with the Interaction Institute for Social Change. I'm also a core member of Food Solutions New England and an advisory circle member to Embrace Race, an organization run by my neighbors, Andrew Grant Thomas and Melissa Giroux, which is dedicated to ensuring that we have race-brave children of all backgrounds raised by savvy caretakers, teachers, and parents. I'm going to invite my colleague, dear friend Karen, to introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone, to this brand new day. I'm Karen Spiller, and I'm principal of CAS Consulting, which is located in Boston, Massachusetts. And I am the Massachusetts Ambassador for Food Solutions New England and an active member in that network. So I bring you greetings. Greetings from the land of Pennacock and Abenaki peoples. And so, as Curtis said, we are so honored and so excited to be here yet again. And so in this community, the community of growing, building, and increasing our interconnectivity and our love and care for each other.
So Karen and I, in preparation for today's session, we're doing a bit of historical review, thinking about Equity Breakfast past and where this all started. and thought we would just give you all a little bit of that overview before we introduce the new topic for this year's breakfast. So it was in 2013 at a Food Solutions New England Regional Food Conference in Maine that the network team at the time rallied around a cry from those who were there at the summit that until we put racial equity, racial justice, and liberation at the center of our work, it really was not going to be successful. And from that point on, the network team and the broader network dedicated itself to an ongoing learning process, which continues to today, as well as the creation of various initiatives, including the 21-day Racial Equity Habit Building Challenge, which continues next year, the 8th annual, along with a strategy group in our region dedicated to advancing equity and justice in the region. And a connection was then made with organizers of NESOG. And I will just say this one step, Karen, and then pass it to you, that the very first equity breakfast was held in Saratoga Springs, and Kiana Mickey, who many of you know, and I facilitated that very first breakfast. And here we are today. Karen, you want to say what's happened in between?
Absolutely. So just want to give
Karen
a,
nos va a contar qué pasó entre el medio de eso.
I just want to give a little bit of, what we were doing in those sessions. So we started out with the continuum on becoming a anti-racist, multicultural institution. And we did that for 2 sessions. And for those of you who have been part of NESOG for some time, back in the day, we were at Saratoga Springs in New York. So both the 2014 and 2015, we held the breakfast there. So then we were moving out, and that's all part of the transition that we're all experiencing now, the transformative work that NESOG has been doing. 2016, we focused on levels of racism in Hartford. In 2017, we went to the storytelling curricula so that we could begin to listen and lean in to others and understand, again, I said earlier, the interconnection and interdependence and the intersectionality of all of that, looking for the commonality. That was in Baltimore. And then we moved on to 2018 to Philadelphia, where we were looking at the dominant culture, moving to something different. What does it look like for the white dominant culture in which we all are living and operating in? What does it look like, and how do we know and signal and use our power and privilege to create something different? And then in 2019, we were in Jersey City, and we focused on predictable phases of equity in that work that we're doing together. And so, yes, Curtis said, we all know COVID-19 made it not possible for us to be together and plan on the 2021. And so with us today, our focus is on trauma and transformation. And as I said at the beginning of this, the transformation of liberated futures, focusing on love, racial equity, and networks. For these past 7-8 years, we've been working on racial equity. We've been working on networks and how we can use the power of our networks to shift, to build, to create something different that serves and feeds us all. And we wanted to add something that we often don't think about intentionally, is love. Where's the love in that? And where is the community in that? Where is the culture of caring in that? So that's where we are today. So that's our journey of where we've been. And this journey has been something you've seen throughout NESOG over the last 7 years. You've seen it through the newsletters, you've seen it through the offerings, you've seen it through the sessions that we continue to offer, through our conferences, you've seen it through the spirits of the network moving through all of our 12 states, making relationships, building on building, and again, tapping in and seeing each other, the eyes windows of the soul, looking in and pulling out and working towards racial equity together. So this has been a journey that NESOG, FS&E, and others, but it's been such a, I want to call a walk and talk journey to be able to be in this space with you again as we transform liberated futures with love in it. So Curtis, why don't you move us to the next phase of this time together?
Yeah, so as Karen said, each year we try and bring a new tool that is in step with the conversation about equity and justice in the food system. And so this year we're bringing this tool that my colleagues and I at the Interaction Institute for Social Change, Abba Taylor, Cynthia Parker, Kelly Bates, and others created about midway through the year of 2020 in observing everything that was going on with COVID and other crises. And we built it on this collaborative change lens that we use in our work that we've been using at Food Solutions New England. So I'm just going to do a bit of a word association exercise here. I'm going to throw out one of the words that is a part of that framework and just invite you all to chat, to type what first comes to mind when I say this word. So one of the key features of our collaborative change lens is collaboration. So when you hear the word collaboration, what comes to mind? Please type it in the chat. This community comes up. Comunidad. What else comes to mind with collaboration? Working together equally. Marty mentions ecology. Support. Open heart, open mind. Building together. Trust. Reciprocity, mutual benefit. Complementary, says Ani. So that's one part of the collaborative change lens. Another part of the collaborative change lens is equity and justice. They're not necessarily the same thing, but when you hear the word equity or justice, whichever one resonates with you most deeply, what comes to mind? Equity, justice. Please put it in the chat. Access to power for all. Agency, BIPOC freedom, fairness. Everyone is able to thrive. Liberación. Stepping back because as a white woman, I have too much power. Thank you all for that. Universal well-being, says Dana. Anti-capitalism, says Lee. So a third of the 4 features of this relief from constant guilt for white people, says Liz. A third feature of this, in addition to collaboration, equity, and justice, are networks. So another word association here. When you hear the word networks, what comes to mind? What comes to heart? What comes up visually for you? Networks. Again in the chat. Mycelium. Innovation. Connection. Biomimicry. Sharing the load. Strength. Trust. Communication and capitalized time. Safety. Allison Clark, mentioned as the supreme networker. And an oh yeah to mycelium. Beautiful. Gracias. The fourth that we want to lift up as part of this collaborative change lens is love. Love, when you hear the word love, what comes to mind? What comes to heart? What comes up visually for you? Love, vulnerability, care, acceptance, respect, solidarity, never quits, God, creator, knowledge, gift, grace, care. Beautiful. Thank you all for sharing these. So we've been curious about what lies at the intersection of networks and love and collaboration and work for justice and equity. And as we've been looking at what's been happening prior to the pandemic, but also really emphasized, highlighted during these times of pandemic and other crises, the crises of state violence, the crises of structural racism, the crises of ongoing neo-colonialism. We've been looking at how there's a need perhaps to think about different phases of our work in food systems. And so I'm going to share my screen. This is the tool that we'd like you to work with and play with others. So on the left side here, we have those features we just talked about: equity and justice, specifically racial equity and justice, collaboration, love, and networks. And at the top, we've looked at these different dimensions or phases of the work that's needed, identifying trauma, the reality of widespread trauma, and asking ourselves, how are we responding to the impact of trauma from COVID, racism, and other shocks to the system, whether that be to our own bodies, social systems. There's also this dimension of reckoning related to trauma, but that lifts up this question: how are we grappling with deep distress and the reality of shifting resources? How are we embracing the uprisings for change? And then this healing dimension. And so the healing dimension related to trauma and reckoning asks, how are we creating the conditions for healing and well-being, equitable well-being? And the last dimension is transformative futures. How are we envisioning and living into equitable and resilient futures? So we've been working with partners to think about where are they focused in their work? Are they addressing trauma? Are they engaged in the work of reckoning, of healing and promoting well-being, working for transformative futures? And many are working for all or most of these. And then you'll see that in these different boxes are different questions that came to us. Surely there are more that you could include here, but just inviting our partners to reflect, where might they want to put their precious resources and time and energy in advancing a food system that works for all, that addresses historical and ongoing oppressions. So this is the tool. This is the tool that we were going to offer today, and invite you in small groups to just explore together and see if in what ways this tool is helpful to locate your own work. And is there a question that is helpful for you? Is there a question that either helps you to focus your work, lifts up new places to take your work? So just working with your partners to identify which dimensions appeal to you which questions come up for you. What new questions might you raise that would be helpful to focus and channel your work? So I'm going to, this resource went out to everybody. There is a version in Spanish as well. I am putting that here in the chat. That's the English version. And we'll send you into these breakout rooms to explore that tool together. We have groups of about 4 or 5 set up here. So freely introduce yourselves to one another and see where this tool takes you.
Curtis, it's Karen. Can
Yes.
you hold on one moment before you move them so that I can put the link to Spanish in the chat?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Karen.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Curtis and Karen. I'm taking over for Shia on the tech. Are you all set with the breakout rooms, or is that something that you need me to set up?
I'm all set with the breakout rooms. Thank you. So once Karen has put the Spanish version in there, we'll be good to go. Any questions about what we're asking you to do? Karen, are we about ready?
Almost. Wish I could say I'm quite savvy in this, but I'm not. So hold on.
Okay, there is a question about repeating the instructions. So I'm going to, again, thank you for that question. This, this tool, this grid is what we're inviting you to look at with your colleagues. And look at where you would place your work in one of these columns at the top. Are you focusing on trauma, on reckoning, on healing and well-being, on transformative futures? And then look down the left-hand column to see if there's a dimension of change that you feel like calls to you. Advancing love, building networks, working collaboratively, advancing racial equity and justice, and find where those meet and see if there are questions that are inviting to you, or come up with new questions that would help to focus your work. Karen, are we good?
Almost, 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 almost. Okay, I'm going to drop it in and hope before we go, just be sure that we can access it, everyone, okay?
Also, y'all, just wanting to uplift Lee's comment in the chat. Quiero resaltar el comentario de Liliana en el chat. Liliana pregunta o pide, Lee pide si puede haber un grupo en español. Y si lo que hacemos es que dejamos todos que quieren participar en un grupo en español en esta sala principal, entonces la interpretación puede seguir aquí y los demás pueden ir a sus grupos pequeños. Entonces, si hay alguien más que quisiera participar en un grupo en español, por favor alcen su mano o manden un mensaje en el chat para poder hacer eso. Y le damos las gracias a Karen, a Curtis, a Tracy, a Maleika, a Shea y a todas las personas que nos están ayudando a extender y practicar esto de justicia del lenguaje, que en sí es una práctica.
Okay, I think that
So you have it?
we now have it. I put the Spanish and English versions are both in the chat. And here comes the invitation.
I'm in a breakout room with someone who would like to be in the Spanish-speaking breakout room. I'm not sure how that's being worked out.
Okay, thank you, Tracy.
Her name is Lala Montoya.
Okay, thank you. Looking for Lala. Ah. So looking for some help from the translation team now. I saw
But-
only one person identify as wanting Spanish speaking.
So look at the LTs on that list,
Yeah,
LJs, and drop them in there.
yeah.
For some reason, I lost it.
Hi. I'm from the LJ team.
Hi, Rosie.
Hi. I think that we lost our other interpreter because probably she went on the groups.
Oh,
So I'm gonna see if we have anyone that is here and I can do the interpretation here.
Sí, Rosy, aquí tenemos a Judith, está aquí.
Okay, perfect.
Acabo de ver a Judith, pero ahora no. Sí, Judith, ahí está. Rosy, tú estás aquí también. Entonces podemos continuar con la interpretación. Lee está aquí, que quisiera participar en español. Aquí falta Lala. Lala debe de estar aquí, por favor. Si pueden traer o invitar a Lala a este espacio. Y también aquí pueden participar personas en inglés, ¿verdad? Podemos tener conversación entre idiomas, pero lo importante es que las personas que quisieran participar en español puedan. Entonces, no sé si hay alguna manera de traer a Lala atrás a este espacio que quisiera participar en español.
I'm sorry to interrupt again. Liz Henderson is now by herself in a breakout room because I have to go do tech for another session that starts at 10.
Yes, and we
So-
have to prepare to present at that session at 10.
So if somebody could rescue her and put her in a breakout room, I think she's in breakout room 1. I
Okay.
apologize.
Yep, I will put
looks
her.
like she could go into 2.
Thank
Right?
you so much. This has been great. I wish I could participate for the whole thing, but I'll watch the recording.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you,
Peace,
Karen.
y'all. Good luck with the rest of the time. LJ team, you already know, hit us up if anything.
Thank you. You still there?
Yeah, so I'm looking at a few people have not joined.
I think I was waiting to go to a Spanish.
So can we create a new room then for?
Only if it needs to go where there is an LJ. Room 7? Oh,
That
no,
is not accepted.
not there. Not joined.
Well, maybe I can move Lee and Lala to a room. I don't know. No.
Sorry, yeah, I was just typing this in the chat. I'm actually gonna have to excuse myself now because I'm supporting a group of people to join the next plenary right at 10.
Oh my
So I have
goodness.
to go run the logistics.
So we're
But-
losing you all.
I'm sorry. I have like 8 people waiting in a different room that got here early.
We
So
understand.
yeah, but I'll be back for the LJ plenary at 10.
Take care now.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Okay.
So
We don't,
I'm wondering, can we put Lala in a room with Judith? Is that possible now, or have some? I'm trying to figure out so that Lala is not on her
well,
own.
Lala,
I mean, you
well,
I'm bilingual, so you can put me in another room if you like as well. I just, yeah.
Okay.
Lala, it looks like the language justice team is all getting ready for the next session. Is it okay if you are in an English speaking group?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for asking so kindly, Karen.
Okay. Okay. All righty. Well,
Lala.
thank you. So that could be room 2
Yeah,
with
I just
Eva,
sent that
right?
invitation for room 2.
Thank you. Hey, Malika. How
Hi,
how are
Mama
you?
Karen.
How are you,
I'm
sunshine?
good. I'm good. How are you?
Okay. I see you. I'm just like, good. Good.
Well, you're looking extra beautiful. It's good to
Oh,
see you.
you're so sweet. It's good to see you too. You
This has
too.
been a wonderful session so far. It's always good. So I'm just loving it.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for being here. That's what makes it, your presence. That's what makes it. I'm sorry that I guess the timing with getting ready for the next, it's a plenary at 10 o'clock, right?
No, it's just another, it's a session block, but
Oh.
one of the sessions, it actually, the Farsan language justice session is happening at 10.
Okay.
So they really need to
Okay.
be.
They need to be there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've appreciated their presence and their contribution. It's been a wonderful experience for everyone. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
Illum brought it in and that we were able to make it happen.
Yes, me too. So wonderful.
Yeah, so I don't know, Curtis. So we don't have the interpreters for for the debrief. So we'll.
We do. We
Oh, you're
have.
there,
We are
Rosie.
here.
Oh, okay. Yay.
Yeah. We still
I
have
know it's been a lot
few-
of juggling.
yes.
I thought we lost you all. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
No.
Judith is also here.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
And I see Roz is here. And
So when
yeah, so
everyone
we-
comes back, Judith and myself, we will be able to do the debrief. I'm not sure. It's been like a little bit of confusion with who should be where,
Yeah.
but we're here.
Okay. All right. That's good. We're happy. Oh, we're happy. Okay. So Curtis, we've got like 15 minutes.
Yeah, so people will
What do
come
you
back
think?
in 5 minutes, and I think we can just, you know, take a few comments, and we can try and end a few minutes early so people aren't breathless going to the next thing.
Okay. So a couple of comments and then
And I can show
quote.
the slide.
Right.
I'm just following your directions.
Well, that seems like what we can do with what we've got. Because we do want, you've got the slide for the challenge to invite that in. Right. And so I'm going to get the quote here. Because that's going to go really fast. You can also drop the link to the challenge page into the chat.
Yeah.
Right now I'm trying to get the quote
Yes.
off of our doc. Maybe I should get it off my other doc. Okay, it's not working for me. Do this. Cool. Okay. Okay, so you want to broadcast a message to them or you want to?
just let them know about 7 minutes. Well, that was 3 minutes ago. So just,
You want to give them 2-minute warning?
yeah, I'll give them, yeah.
This is the first time I've ever seen the breakout box window, so that's really cool. And I don't want to touch it because I don't want to do anything that shouldn't happen. Yes, Malika, tech is not me.
Oh, me either. Mama Karen, as soon as we decided to do this online, I was like, okay, this is where we transition to Shia being the conference manager.
I so understand that. You know, you have such a gift of creativity, and it deserves a physical space, right? The physical space is what we need.
Okay, that's one way to put it. That's one way to look at it, yes.
Yes, we need that physical space for your creativity to be visible and, you know, enjoyed. This online is
Aw.
just not it.
Although I have seen some really creative things happening in virtually, so that's been kind of neat to just see how people are working with it and making it happen.
Yes, yes. That's what we have learned to have to transform ourselves in that way as well.
So I just closed the room, so people will be coming back
Coming
now.
back.
55 seconds.
Okay, perfect. Uh-oh, 4 messages. Oh, well, you got Lala. Okay. All right. Okay, are we back?
No, 30 seconds. No one has
Oh,
come back yet. Well,
okay.
so they're still talking. That's a good sign. Nobody has.
They're starting to come back.
Seconds.
Curtis, what was the question
What was what question?
that they went into the session with?
They were locating their work in those dimensions, trauma or reckoning or healing or transformation. And what questions do you know for them? Or what was helpful? All right, everybody is back now.
Back. Welcome back. Welcome back. And want to say before we even start with this piece, appreciate your grace and your patience and moving into the spaces, and hope that you were able to have those conversations and be able to share what your work looks like in light of the dimensions of trauma, of reckoning, reclaiming, healing, and transformative futures. And that was probably not enough time. So we'd love for you to be able to share. We can take a couple, because we also, on the other end, want to honor the fact that there is a session right behind this. So if we were in person, you'd be, you know, sitting a little longer in the space with us and then running to the next room. But we want to be able to give you a chance to get located to the next session that you'll be engaged in. So please, what did you share? What were some of the ahas? What were some of the unexpected sharings that came in? You can put it in the chat if you like, or you can come off mute. Because we're able to take a couple. Love to be able to do that. And I'm not seeing.
I heard an interesting one from Marty, on the challenge of love. While wanting to be there, there's a lot of anger that presents a real challenge. So I thought that was an interesting one coming out of our session.
Mm-hmm. So that reckoning with the anger of trauma, pain. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And have to honor that in the same moment, honoring that in the same moment. Thank you, Gary. Any others? Complexity. Seeing this of existing. Oh, this is where my of existing within. I'm having challenges with the chat. Curtis, are you able to see that?
Yes, the complexity of existing within harmful systems while imagining existing without them.
Yes. It is a complex transition that we're looking for, and in that, recognizing that and honoring that, and the same time still pushing forward. I think somebody said more recently that we are existing within them, and part of our transformation is how do we manage that to serve us better and in the existing piece. So the coexisting in a way that serves us and heals us and nourishes us. So Liz says, urging us to imagine our future and project that in stories and narratives to light people's way through this painful transition. Yes, lighting the way, that path, opening that path to something different.
Dana had shared a comment before that about her group identified the challenges of thinking about love while reckoning with trauma. Unique to have a conversation with both of these. I just wanted to offer that I was part of a conversation yesterday about health equity with some racial justice activists and healthcare change activists and narrative strategy activists. And one of the things that was raised is that it is hard to tell new stories if you are traumatized, because trauma is characterized by kind of a stuckness, and sometimes a stuckness in our story or a story that's being imposed on us. And so how can we liberate ourselves from that trauma to be able to tell new stories was a complex question.
Very complex. So I want to also honor, Gary, your question here. Does anybody have any experience with Gorda's book and would like to share any insights, any wisdom in this space before we move on to closing? We lift up that, as you did, Gary, that's something that we should explore. I think as we know that the more we expand and explore different writings and different perspectives, we're able to expand our understanding and also, explore different pathways. So I encourage you to the offering that Gary gave to explore that reading. We have, Curtis is going to put it in the chat later, where we have the challenge, 21-day racial equity challenge, and the resources there that also are available for us to expand. And again, the multiple ways of thinking and learning and leaning in. So want to thank you so much for being engaged in the breakouts and sharing, honestly sharing your experiences as well as your hopes and your aspirations around this transformative futures and love. But I also want to lift up.
Karen, sorry,
Yes, Curtis.
I noticed that Ani has their hand up.
Ami, please.
Can you hear me?
Now, yes, now.
I didn't have experience with the book that he mentioned, but I have almost 4 decades of lived experience of, living in trauma and imagining a better future. And, from that perspective of experience, all I can say is it's hard and there's nothing like practice and, just going through it over and over. And I know that so many other little girls, like myself, who are intersectional in so many ways, have learned that the hard way in, envisioning a better future for ourselves and living in a reality that is very, very different. And this is the first step in the progress, which is, acknowledging, and everybody's doing a lot of really great work. And it's, just reverse engineering that future that you are aiming for, and look to the young people, especially the little girls who still dream, and they will guide you, and they will inspire you, and they will, motivate you. So if nothing else, that's where I look to the young people, because in them, I see the future, and I see, that ability to still imagine that positivity that really motivates me whenever I get low.
Honey, thank you. Thank you so much. And it also, in some ways, reminds us why we're doing this. We're doing it for them to be able to thrive and see themselves in those spaces that they want and long to be. So figuring out how we are able to nurture and create the pathway, clearing all the stuff so that's possible for them. And we're walking with them and talking with them and working with them to make that happen. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So would love to leave this quote with you. It's in our chat. It's in English and in Spanish. And it's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And we love this quote because it really talks about power and love and their relationship. So I will read it. And again, it's available in the chat. And our team, LJ team, will share it with you as well. Power, properly understood, is the ability to achieve purpose. It's the strength required to bring about social, political, and economic changes. In this sense, power is not only desirable, but necessary in order to implement the demands of love and justice. One of the greatest problems of history is that the concepts of love and power are usually contrasted as polar opposites. Love is identified with the resignation of power, and power with the denial of love. What is needed is a realization that power without love is reckless and abusive, and that love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice. And justice at its best is correcting everything that stands against love. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, the cries for justice, the stand for justice. And justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against it in the way of love. Chris, did you want to take us out?
Go, but don't forget your home. The love you have always known is waiting to see you soon. inside the valley, hidden in the river, dancing in the wind. Eating from the ground, deep inside the valley, hidden in the river, dancing in the wind upon your skin. I can hear her calling, telling me to make amends. Mother, will meet again. Lost, but we have never gone. This is where we belong. Always return to. Can you hear the sound beating from the ground? Deep inside the valley, hidden in the river, dancing in the wind upon your skin. I can hear her calling, telling me to make amends. Mother, will meet now and then. It's easy to forget. It's her that we need to defend. Oh, Mother, we'll meet you again. Deep inside the valley, hidden in the river, dancing in the wind upon your skin. I can hear her calling, telling me to make amends. Mother, will meet deep inside the valley, hidden in the river, dancing in the wind.
Thank you all for coming. Enjoy the rest of the conference and have a great day.